Hello friends, today we are going to talk about the third chapter, that is the management of biomedical waste. As you have already gone through the classification and all, and today we are going to start with the management of biomedical waste. So before we going to go to the actual biomedical waste management, we will just go through a brief history where you are going to know about like from where this concept came into being and how do the management of biomedical waste is being currently followed. Now going back to the late 1980s, you would see that in America in the year particularly in 1988, the eastern coast beaches, okay, in the US, they were all being washed up with used syringes and all, and that actually was the trigger point where the authorities were concerned about how to manage the biomedical waste in an effective way. And similarly, like you also know, in the early 1980s, the infection from herpes as well as HIV was a major concern because that also led to the contamination of the various other patients. So these were the main two trigger factors which basically concerned the authorities to take appropriate action and the management of the same. As far as India is concerned, the seriousness, they came into being in the in after 1990s, particularly in the year 1998. And if you can see from the slide, in 1986, the Ministry of Environment and Forest, they basically made a notification on biomedical waste, which came into practice in the year 1998 in July. Okay, and according to this law, what it said, that it is the duty of every occupier, that is a person who has a control over the institution, that is the hospitals or the nursing home, to take all the steps so that the waste generated is handled without any adverse effect to the human health and the environment. So this was an important aspect of the same. Also, going by these factors, as we have already emphasized upon the point, that almost like 10 to 25% of the biomedical waste is hazardous, whereas 75 to 95% of the waste is non-hazardous. So the hazardous part of the waste, as you know, that it basically comprises of the physical, chemical and the microbiological risk to the general population and the healthcare workers, which are associated with the handling, treatment and the disposal of the waste. So like I said, in the year 1998, it was a turning point in India. And if you go to the other record books, in 1999, the WHO first launched the first safe management of waste manual for the healthcare activity. It is called the Blue Book, and it came out in 1999. Similarly, in the year 2007, again the WHO met in Geneva, and the core principles was to how to achieve safe and sustainable management of the healthcare waste. It was developed, and it was stressed during that meeting that the right investment of the resources and the complete commitment, the harmful effects of the waste the people has to be reduced in all the forms. And that actually translated into a new Blue Book that came into existence in the year 2014, where WHO again spoke about the newer methods for the safe disposal of the biomedical waste, the new environmental pollution control measures and the detection techniques. So in that meeting, they emphasized about the new topics such as the healthcare waste management in the emergencies, the during the emerging pandemics, like for instance now in corona and all, the drug resistance bacteria and the climate changes, they were all covered within this second edition. And in India particularly, it came into existence by the name of Biomedical Waste Management Rule 2016, and again amended in the year 2018. So these biomedical waste management rules 2016 have been amended so as to improve the compliance and the strengthen the implementation of the environmentally sound management of the biomedical waste in India. So it basically spoke about the generation of the biomedical waste, in terms of your hospitals, nursing homes, and the other factors, because the basically the waste, how it has to be transported, how it has to be segregated, it was all emphasized during these period. So as we will go to the further slides, we will be talking about all these aspects, like what were the difference between the earlier biomedical waste and the management and the what came into being in 2016. For instance, In 2016, if you look into being, like, there were they emphasized upon the use of certain more forms. Okay, so they spoke about, like, the accident reporting forms, the application of for the authorization or the renewal of the authorization. They spoke about the authorization for the generation collection form, about the reception, treatment, storage, transport, and the disposal. And they also emphasized upon the fact that in the annual report, all these has to be mentioned. So it carried out by the names of the various forms. For example, F1 form was basically for accident reporting, whereas F2 was basically for the application of the authorization or the renewal of authorization. F3 was basically for the authorization for the generation, collection, reception, and treatment. F4 for the annual report, and F5 basically for appeal against the order passed by the prescribed authority. So you can see, all these forms. And again, in the year 2019, like you said, the generation of the biomedical waste by the hospital, they said, like, we have to end the use of the chlorinated plastic bags and the gloves beyond March 27, 2019. And all these things has to be done in a phasic order. So as you can see by the in this slide, like, the biomedical waste generators basically included the hospitals, nursing homes, clinics, and they have said that they have to phase out the chlorinated plastic bags and gloves by March 2019. And similarly, they have to make up an annual report. The operators of the common biomedical waste treatment and disposal facility should establish a barcoding system and a global positioning system. Okay, so that in order, like, we can keep a track of how, and within 48 hours these all has to be the no biomedical waste should be treated beyond 48 hours. It has to be within 48 hours limit, and the guidelines has to be in accordance to the Central Pollution Control Board, which was came into practice. So these were the important aspects as far as the biomedical waste 2000. Again, the State Pollution Board basically told, like, the hospitals at the systems has to compile, review, and analyze the information received and send this information to the Central Pollution Control Board. So different bodies have been made, and the work has been become more stringent. The type of segregation has been made more easier. How it was made more easier will come into discussion in the following slides. And like I told you, it was in accordance to the blue book that came into existence by the WHO. So if you can see from the slide, now you see the legislation has been made. After the legislation, it has to be implemented by the authorized agency, and then followed by this, the waste generator, that is the hospital, nursing home, has to follow and abide by the guideline books. And then the site of generation of the waste has to treat it at the site itself, and what all is possible. And then they have to make a proper system for the transportation and the disposal. And based on this, the following legislation will come into practice in the coming terms. So you see over here in the slide the biomedical waste flow chart. So the generator is basically the hospital, followed by which the in-house segregation, collection, color coding of the poly bags, and then they are basically stored at common points, from where it has been transported by the approved special vehicles. Then there has to be an unloading and the temperature storage at the common bio waste. Okay, transportation facility treatment facility has to be there. It has to be stored over there. From there, the treatment has to be done in terms of whether you want to incinerate it, whether it has to go for an autoclaving, or it has to go for shedding, and followed by the disposal, which has to be in forms of recycling and the landfill. Okay, and then based on this, the things has to come into practice. Now, as far as the coordination is concerned, you can see the hospital has to coordinate with a whole lot of bodies. For example, you have SPCB, that is State Pollution Control Board. Then State Pollution Board, again, all the common facility owner. For example, if the hospital does not has its own treatment plants, then it has to be sent to a common facility owner, where from the small segmented hospitals who do not have their own biomedical waste management facility, it is being treated over there. Then they have a sharing facility, and then it has to be in tandem with the environmental activists, which keep a check or a balance from the NGO's perspective, like how much compliance is being taking place from the government authority side as well as from the hospital authority side. Then followed by the coordination, the hospital has to coordinate within its own staff members and within the various departments. It has to coordinate from between MCD, NDMC, which are all bodies of the local bodies of the of Delhi, and then followed by the biomedical waste management transport agency, which actually takes it to the concerned site. Now, as far as the functions is concerned, like the agency which is, which is responsible for all these things within the, so it is basically, there are 8 functions. They have to ensure that the implementation to the new guidelines of biomedical waste has to be followed within the hospital. Then the body has to coordinate with the various agencies. Then all the investigations and a proper record has to be maintained, that whether any accident has taken place while handling the waste. And then it has to also see that the proper training and the guidelines have been given to the officers and the staff which are responsible for doing all these activities which is related with biomedical waste. Then one has to also be ensure about the immunization and the safety guidelines. Then one in the 6th point, we will see that whether the procurement, functioning and maintenance, even the calibration of the incinerator, autoclave, microwave and shredder is properly taking place or not. Then we have to also monitor the segregation, transportation and the disposal of the biomedical waste. And last but not the least, record keeping and reporting to the State Pollution Control Board has to be taken. Then followed by which, like I said, biomedical waste management actually talks about the implementation of the rules and regulation which is being written in the guidelines into the actual physical form or in the practical form. So it comprises of 3 major parts, that is the segregation of the biomedical waste, then the transportation of the biomedical waste and the disposal of the biomedical waste. Now coming on to the segregation of the biomedical waste has to be divided into 3 parts, that is the collection of biomedical waste, the labeling of the biomedical waste and the holding of the biomedical waste. So segregation, as the rule said, segregation has to be done right at the site of the generation. Okay, so it is very, very important, because here you actually see like whether it follows the 3R principle, that is the principle of reduce, okay, reuse and recycle. So what can be reduced? For example, I will give you a simple example. For example, when the people are using the toilets, so if you keep up a paper cloth in order to clean the hands, or in order to dry the hands after using the toilet, so if it is replaced by, suppose, a hand dryer, so it can save actually a lot of time, effort, money in terms of wastage, and it can reduce the production of the waste, basically, which is basically non-hazardous, but then it is very important. So usage of a hand dryer within the hospital premises, within the toilet, can actually reduce the biomedical waste. Similarly, you have to take about various strategies where you can recycle. So basically usage of various polybags has to be there, so that you know which all material can be recycled. For example, glass, for example, plastic, whether it can be recycled, and then which all can be reused. For example, the aprons, it can be washed, it can be properly washed in terms of chemical treatment could be done, and it could be reused for example, the aprons, the bed sheet and all. So which all can be reduced, which all material can be recycled, and which all material can be reused. So it has to be kept into mind. And then responsibility of the proper segregation also lies with the generator of the biomedical waste, that is the hospital, the nursing homes, and it has to be done strictly as per the new guidelines of 2016-18. So if you can see from this slide, so we have already spoken about, like, there are different types of waste. For example, there are 10 types of waste, and starting with the human anatomical waste. So the type of container it has to be put, it is in a plastic bag, and this plastic bag is basically color coding is yellow, and the method of disposal is basically incinerator. Similarly, second category is the animal tissues, which can be the body parts, the carcasses, the bleeding parts, fluid, body, and the experimental animals used in the research. Again, the type of polybag in which all the biomedical waste has to be kept is yellow, and the type of treatment has to be incineration or the deep burial. Then the third category you can see over here in the slide, it comprises of your microbiology as well as biotechnology waste, which I already discussed in the class. So these are basically the cultures, the stocks and the specimen of the life organism, the attenuated vaccines, then from the industrial laboratories, toxins, etc. And again, the color coding of the bag has to be yellow and red. So yellow and red is basically for the hazardous waste, okay. And again, the disposal methods could be autoclave or incinerator or microwave. Then coming to the next category, if you can see in the slide, so the fourth category is basically the waste sharp. The waste sharp again is comprised of the needles, syringes, scalpels, so it's very very dangerous. So it again includes both the used and the unused sharps. And here basically plastic bags are being kept, which are basically puncture proof containers. And here the color coding could be blue, white or translucent, okay. And it basically calls for the deep burial of the waste. Then the fifth category comprise of your discarded medicines and the cytotoxic waste. Now these discarded medicines and cytotoxic waste are basically comprising of the outdated, contaminated and the discarded medicines. And here the color coding that has to be used is basically black, okay, and it calls for deep burial. And then disposal method is deep burial. So when we will talking in about the disposal methods, we'll be talking in more details, because right now we are talking just about the segregation of the biomedical waste. Then the sixth category is your solid waste. Solid waste are basically those waste which are soiled, in terms of like items which are contaminated with body fluids like cotton, dressings, soiled plastic cast, your linen, your lines and the other materials contaminated with blood. And here basically the plastic bag which is used is again yellow or red again for the hazardous waste. And the type of disposal methods is incinerator or the autoclave. Then the seventh category we will be talking about your solid waste, and which is basically the recyclable plastic. The recyclable plastic again is basically from the it has basically the waste which is generated from the other disposable items other than the waste sharp, for example in terms of tubing, catheter or the intravenous sets, okay. And here the plastic bag which is to be used is blue or white, and the method for disposal is used is autoclave or microwave. And the eighth and the ninth category you can see from the next slide coming. So here again it is the liquid waste, and liquid waste, as you see, it is the waste generated from the laboratory, from washing, cleaning and house. So liquid waste cannot be kept in bags, okay. And then it has to be, the disposal method is basically sewage after the treatment. So that is very very important, because this is the liquid waste. Then the ninth category is the incinerator ash. It is basically the ash which is generated from incineration of the any biomedical waste, and the method used is it has to be put in the black plastic bag, and then the method uses deep burial. And as far as the last category is the chemical waste. Chemical waste is basically all the waste which is used in the production of the biologicals, chemicals used in disinfectants or insecticides. Again the plastic bag which is used, color coded, is black, and it also calls for deep burial. So these are the 10 various categories how it has to be used. Then like I said, incinerable waste all has to be kept in yellow, and to summarize. Then autoclave or the microwave, all the things have to be either put in blue or red. And then all the sharps has to kept in proof, it has to be protective, and it has to be puncture proof containers. So it is being kept over here for the sharps. And then all the non-infected is being kept in the black containers. All the needles need to be destroyed in the needle destroyer before disposal. And all the syringes has to be in hypo solutions before segregation. And then the recyclable waste has to be put again either in red or blue bag. So like I said, the principle of reduce, reuse and recycle has to be followed, and you can see the color coding system of the bags is over there. Similarly, one should know how to manage the various hazardous waste before the disposal. And from here you can see from the slide, you should know like the what all hazards a person can have because of these waste. Okay, we have already discussed. And then based on this, you have to also keep into consideration that you have to purchase the smallest quantity, for example in the radiological or the radiotherapeutic waste. So that is very very important, because if it is more in quantity, the more chances of damage could be there. And then you should have to follow the principle of reduction of the waste. Like I said, I gave you the examples regarding the hand dryer. And then different type of waste, you will use the different type of color coding system. And you have to train the people to use PPE, that is the personal protective gear, while handling the biomedical waste. So like I said, like the biomedical waste in blue or red container, it has to basically sent for recycling, and it will be sent for recycling to an authorized recycler. This will keep the recycler in basically in realm and in control of the various government agencies. So all the recycled products which is going to a common central agency, and from there it is going, the reports are being going to the various governmental agencies. And hence wise, greater emphasis has to be given to the recycling of the conserve resources, so that it can decrease the pollution. Similarly, if you can see, the new biomedical waste guidelines has been notified to make these biomedical waste process very efficient within the country. And they have been modified to include the word handling, okay, and bring more clarity into the application. And the strict rules have been framed so that no pilferage of the recyclable items can take place, and no secondary handling or advent scattering or spillage by the animals should take place. So for example, you can look over here, we have to use various types of labeling system, okay, while following this system. So it is for explosive, inflammable, oxidizing, there's gas under pressure, corrosive. So these types of labeling has to be put on the bags, and all the bags has to be filled up to 3/4, so that they can be tied properly, and that it has to be, put at the proper site of generation as for the disposal. And similarly, they all must have a biodegradable or a biohazard signages over there. So again, while from a job place perspective, like I told you, like we have to train the staff properly. So proper posters has to be put on the doors which are basically hazardous. Labels on hazard has to be there. PPE use has to be trained. The training about PPE has to be given properly to the people. And then role model safe use and disposal has to be told to the our staff. And then contact point is should be given to everybody, like who is responsible for all these things. Okay. Similarly, temporary storage of the holding of the bags before transportation has to be seen. Before this, I will take you another slide where we basically spoke about who are the agencies. For example, in a hospital, the medical superintendent is the head of the hospital, who's the chairman for all these things. And he will be there will be a biomedical waste committee in the hospital, and it will be comprised of all the HOD members, officers, nursing superintendent, followed by the sister in charge, followed by, there has to be a sanitation in charge, sanitation supervisor, and the sanitary staff has to be there. So in nutshell, this is the basically usage of the biomedical waste. And holding has to be proper, okay, no treatment waste has to be kept beyond 48 hours, and it has to be handled properly. So in the next slide, in the next class, we will be talking more about the disposal of the biomedical waste. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope like you have understood the things very well.